Good morning. Welcome to the June 27, 2017 Wright County Board meeting. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the minutes from June 20th. I'll entertain a motion to dispense with the reading and approve as written.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delighted, second by Commissioner Houston. Any additions or corrections at all, Lee? No? Okay. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The agenda for today, I understand there might be...
Yes, there is one item to add. I
Okay.
believe Mr. Mattice will speak to that.
Okay, our Parks Administrator, Mark Mattice. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I was hoping I could petition on discovery of a zebra mussel on Cedar Lake outside of Schroeder Park and discussion on possible treatments and cost share efforts with the Lake Association, the county, and the state.
Items for consideration?
Okay, item for consideration B, is that okay, Lee?
Yes.
Okay. Looks like we have some other AIS stuff here too, so. All right, thank you, Mark.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Leiden. Anything further? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The consent agenda for today.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner, motion by Commissioner Delight, second by Commissioner Houston. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we are down to 9:02, timed agenda. Our Auditor Treasurer, Mr. Bob Hevla, award-winning Auditor Treasurer.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. The first item on the agenda is an informational item. There's going to be a lot of press releases about this, but statewide, the DMV is going to a MNLARS system. So our DMV, all DMVs will be shut down July 20th or 21st. I think that's a Thursday and Friday. And they'll be opened up on Monday morning. The change in this MNLARS puts a lot of verification data entry shifting out to us. I have Becky here to give you a little bit of an anticipation. She also said that Monday morning, we can't put our inventory into the system until Monday morning. So managing that expectation, somebody showing up at 8 o'clock. Here's Becky to talk about MNLARS and the impact.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Becky.
MNLARS is a system that has been developed by the state to replace a 30-year-old system that we are using right now. That's very slow. Right now we are doing a two-entry system, or a two-part system, I should say, that we use the clerks at the counter will take in the inventory or take in the titles and assign plates, that type of thing, and then in the back, we are then entering it into the state system. We then mail the documents in. It takes that long for it to actually process and a title to be sent out. With the MNLARS system, we are actually taking in all of the work at the counter, proofing it, double checking it all, entering it into the system, and it's immediately updated at the state system. That means the titles will take probably about 3 days to come through, compared to about 6 to 8 weeks right now. So it's a lot better. It's great for the customer and the fact that they will have their information updated as they're leaving our office. As soon as we press that button, it's in there. They will walk out with everything. We can order special plates. It'll go through a lot faster. The downside is that it's going to take us longer at the counter with each customer, and my clerks have to be on top of everything and proofing and proofing and proofing to make sure we have all documentation. So, you know, it's a win situation, but we have to rethink our process. In lieu of this big download from the state, they are closing us down for motor vehicle transactions only on Thursday and Friday, the 20th and the 21st. We will still be available to do driver's licenses, game and fish, DNR. There's supposed to be a lot of signage and media coming out about this, but we wanted to kind of give this information to you first so that you know a little bit more about it. But there is media releases that will be coming out on the news and the newspapers.
I have a question. What if they had somebody that, let's say their tabs are due or overdue and they came in right at the last minute and then they get pulled over on the way home for, you know, I mean, is it?
They got 30 days.
20th of the
It's 20th and 21st is before the end of the month.
it's
It's not that, yeah, but there's nothing we can do. We won't have any temporaries to give anyone, but it's going to be out there that if you don't have your things, we're not going to be able to, and this is statewide, that we will not be able to help you on the 20th and the 21st.
So it'll be our satellite locations too, Cokato,
Yes.
Monticello, Delano.
Statewide.
So we're encouraging people to get their tabs earlier.
Very much
Hopefully they're watching the board meeting this morning.
Yes, please come early.
Okay. All right, that's just
Okay.
information.
Well, I'll just give a little bit more update. Board.
Sure.
Mr. Chair. Go ahead. I do have one quick question. Are we going to be putting more computers since it's going to take longer for each?
Announce that.
Oh,
During the
okay.
budget process, you saw that I had asked for more PCs. We have all of them installed. We have printers and we have scanners now. So I think we have 6 stations across the counter. Board, you also approved me to move vitals out of DMV. I moved that up to the recorder's office.
That's freed up some space.
This is in anticipation of this workload that's coming on us. So we know that we have a lot of customer service there at the counter. It's going to be slower, but hopefully we're going to limit the number of our customers going there. So we'll get better at it. We hope the public will appreciate that this is happening statewide. So.
Well, I mean, but you'll have workers in the back that were previously doing the secondary work that will be able to come up and help
We'll
too.
still have to keep probably at least one person in the back doing phone calls and driver's license entry, any correspondence that comes in. But we're going to see how the workflow goes, and I'm anticipating having more people at the counter a bit longer and just rotate that person back.
Currently, we tried to have 3 up at the counter. Now we'll have 6 up at the counter. So.
Well, that
Nice.
should move it. Okay, thank you.
Luck.
Thank you, yeah.
We'll have a big sign out front that says, please be patient.
So, board, that was just it. Just FYI.
Okay.
Second item on the agenda is we received a petition to establish a lake improvement district for Maple Lake. Brian will take over here.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Commissioner Vetch and I attended an informational meeting on Saturday this past weekend. There are a group of citizens out on Maple Lake who are putting together a petition for Lake Improvement District. That petition, if they gain the signatures of a majority of the property owners, will come to the county board for a decision on whether or not to establish a lake improvement district. So they sent out this information to you because the county is listed, I think there's 3 parcel numbers listed. The first 2 are the north or the east Maple access. I call it the north end of the lake, but it's on the end of the lake up by County Road 37. And those are owned by the county, those 2 parcels. And the statute says that local governments, cities, townships, schools, counties, do have the right to sign off on the petition. The state and federal government do not. I'm assuming because they would not be able to be assessed. Usually local governments could be assessed as a part of, any charges there might be on the lake. So I can ask Commissioner Vetch to add on to what the reasons are that they're looking at an LID, but we just wanted to bring it to your attention at this point in time since it came in the mail, so.
So basically, Maple Lake Lake Association, up until this point, they've used a lot of their fundraising funds to manage weed control in the lake, AIS inspections, inlet outlet control. but they've kind of run aground due to poor weather on their ice fishing tournaments. It's kind of, they dwindled down a surplus of, I think, around $60,000 down to very little at this point. They're trying to be proactive based on the surrounding areas and things that are going on with the AIS and with just the weed control in the lake. They're looking to be able to backfill that money and have some sort of constant control of funds so that they can make long-term plans. They hope that if they, actually the lid's going to open up opportunities for grants that they wouldn't have otherwise, because they will be able to have a better set of a guaranteed fund set for them. At the meeting, which was well attended, Brian, I would say there's probably about 60 plus people there. At least. I talked to a good number of them. A lot of people there were pretty receptive on it. Don't quote me on the number, but there's what, 290 in the lid, roughly, give or take 2 or 3. They're going to need about 140, 145 signatures. Brian, are we getting 1 signature if we'd approve on, or 3 signatures on that petition?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Vetch, the way they're looking at it is if you own multiple parcels, which the county owns those first 2, the third parcel number listed is those, it's actually tax forfeit property in Sherwood Forest, the 20-foot or 30-foot access strips. That is state-owned, so we wouldn't have the right to sign off on that. But the way they're looking at it is with multiple parcels, you get 1 signature. So if the board was in favor of the formation, at least at this point in time, you could authorize Bob to sign off on the petition when I don't think the petition is in final form yet. This is kind of an informational mailing, but the other option would be to simply lay it over, and I don't think there's any time crunch at this point for the organizers.
Just to give you guys an idea, of the parcels on the property, I believe it was 56% of the properties are members of the Lake Association. Right. So that gives you an idea. They need 51%. Talking with some of the city council people, because the city has property on this as well. I think they have a couple parcels. I believe they might be taking action on it at their meeting tonight. Don't quote me on that one, but they were pretty receptive to wanting to see this go forward as well. I'm kind of making the recommendation that we should sign on the petition. It's a good steward. It's a way for the lake to hopefully be proactive in making some prevention moves before some of these terrible things that are going around come in.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think too, supporting these local entities, and certainly if their desire is to move forward with the Lake Improvement District, I support that. I also, the last 2 years they've had to cancel the fishing tournament, and I mean that was pretty devastating for them, so financially.
And Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Powell.
As a owner of a resort on a lake in northern Minnesota, so I'm kind of aware of this, when these lake associations are a member of that one, Lake Ide up there, when this lake decides to go and explore forming a lid, they know what they're getting and what they're giving up when they're doing this, and they just got to the point where it's probably, we need to do something now, we can't kick this can down the road, and for them to have this meeting and open discussion and that many people there, that tells you that that group is pretty serious about this, and my feeling is we should be supporting that lake association if they want to form a lid. I wouldn't say this would make sense on every single lake in Wright County, but this is one of those lakes I think it would make sense, because you do have a lot of landowners on this lake and a lot of activity on that lake.
And I have a couple of questions. So is it just property that touches the water?
No, it's within 100 feet.
Mr. Chair, they're trying to form it using a boundary that would be 100 feet from the lake shore. So it's mainly riparian properties. The DNR, at least in their rules, has some language in about including more of the watershed, but they're willing to work with LIDs that, fully aware that a lot of the issues they deal with are affecting most the people that live and boat on the lake. There's also the ability to do projects further off the lake. For instance, they talked about the possibility of they're obviously working with soil and water, Wright County Soil and Water District. but they do projects that might include a farmer's property where there's a lot of runoff coming in. And that land that they're doing that, whatever that project is, does not need to be in the district. It can be outside the boundaries of the district. So the only folks assessed would be, if it's formed in what they're proposing right now, would be within 100 feet of the lake.
So you could have somebody on the other side of the road, let's say, that has no connection to the lake at all, being assessed for the lake. It doesn't.
Possibly. I guess I haven't seen the complete list of property owners.
I believe the intent was to avoid that. That's the reason where they chose that 100 feet. They used the beacon maps to try and draw it out so that they were keeping it. It'd be upwards of like 95% or 99% of the people that are within that 100 feet are lake
But if their intent was to have it just for the people that are on the lake, then why didn't they make it 20 feet? You know what I mean?
I have no idea. I mean,
it just wouldn't seem fair to, if I own property on the other side of the road and I had no connection to the lake.
you have deeded access, though.
What's that?
You have deeded access.
Some of them do.
Some of them do. Some of the people, because they're on their side of the road, that's probably why they chose the 100 feet, because they have deeded accesses on.
You mean like an easement or something?
Well, yeah, like an easement. Yep, so they have a dock and stuff on the lake, but yet their property is across from the road. That's probably why they chose the 100 feet. I can't speak for that.
Okay. And then how is the assessment determined? Is it by property value? Is it just per parcel?
It's on a set dollar amount. They will,
Per
annually, they will set a dollar amount that they need, then they will disperse it evenly across the property. So let's say it's $30,000, they'll disperse that amongst the 290 properties evenly.
Mr. Chair, Bob could probably answer some of those questions too, because at least from the standpoint of the existing LIDs that we have.
Either one.
They would have, I mean, there's an option that they could finance it with ad valorem type of taxation, but I don't know that any of our current districts do that. I think most of them submit a budget and just divide it up equally. You know, if there's 100 parcels, everybody's paying 1/100th of what their annual budget is.
And that's what they're presenting.
It's just, I don't know if, I mean, then you have a $1 million property that takes up, 800 feet of lakeshore, and then you have somebody's tiny little cabin that's worth a couple $100,000 paying the same fee. I don't know.
Mr. Chair, Bob, they spoke about this, maybe you can answer it or cannot. Their intent with it is if a property owner has 3 parcels, but they want to basically draw the lid up so that would count as one assessment for the lid, because their presentation was the fact is that they wanted to evenly disperse that dollar amount evenly across them, but if you had 1 parcel, 1 name, 1 assessment, is that pretty common?
Well, Commissioners, you asked me the other question, is it ad valorem or is it a fixed amount? Becoming a taxing district, they have abilities to establish how they want to spread it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I guess that's another question then, is who decides who gets to be on the board or to make the decisions? Is it?
Mr. Chair, the first, basically the way I've left it with them, at least at this informational meeting, was you need to suggest who would be on the first board, because the statute calls for you as the county board, if you decide to establish an LID, to set the first board of directors. And so normally we would ask them for recommendations, is it 5-member board or is it a 7-member board, and who's willing to serve. After that, then it's an election that's made at the annual meeting. And they may have different length terms as well, I'm not sure.
Okay, and I know we have a couple of these. We have very few, really.
Four.
Four, yeah, as I said, it's very few for considering all the lakes. And
Well, there aren't very many throughout the state either.
46.
so, and I guess, whatever, there's other people out there sure have these questions. Is it something that, like, where we would have it where a term, or just unending, it just...
Mr. Chair, the statute talks about, there's a method for terminating an LID, and I think it requires like a petition type of process again. So once formed, it is, it's there until it's terminated.
Mr. Chair, but they always have that ability to drop that money, that dollar amount down to $100. They could drop it to a very, very small amount of money if they found that they had no need for it. They'll probably always be in place, but they could drop the dollar amount very, very small.
I just have a concern with the way with the per property assessment, because, well, then why, if that's fair, then why don't we just do property tax like that, you know? Lee owns, 500 acres, he pays $10, and Mark has a little lot and he pays $10, it just doesn't seem fair to me, so.
Mr. Chair, I believe that the reason they're going this route is because they're not asking for a large sum of money. They're looking for a small sum of money.
But they could change that any time once it's established.
They can draw on their bylaws and put caps in there. At this point, they want to find the stomach for it if they can get the petition passed through. The finer details will come to us in committee, in the Ways and Means Committee, and at that point, we will tweak it with their lid members appointed to find bylaws that us as commissioners are okay with, and them as a lake association or lid board.
Board, our parks administrator caught my eye. He let me know that the parks board is going to be looking at this as well. I believe it's a $125 assessment against our park property.
That's what they put in.
Right, so.
I'll make a motion to sign the petition for the Lake Improvement District for Maple Lake.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Potter to sign the petition for the Lake Improvement District for Maple Lake.
Mr. Chair, I didn't realize that the Park Commission may look at this, and so the only question would be whether or not you want to wait for a recommendation, since this is, the north access is actually Parks property, or the east Maple access.
And then I guess.
Yes, what's that, Mark? Do you have any recommendation from the Parks District, or the county park?
Well, the Parks Committee hasn't met yet.
Yeah, Parks, but Mark, do you have a recommendation on there?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Vetch. I don't hold judgment on anything until our Park Commission reviews it, but I did receive the letter as well. Request for petition as far as how they're going to do the assessment, and it is per, it's not per, if we have 3 parcels, it's just 1 parcel, just like you said. Initial cost is they're looking at trying to raise about $30,000, which is $125 assessment, and I was going to bring it to the Park Commission on July 10th for consideration and recommendation. But if you take care of it today, then we don't have to bring it there, and it's your consideration and recommendation anyhow. So we are members of most lake associations where we have property on, if we're asked. So.
I'm going to keep my motion in place.
Okay.
I'd rather table it to allow the
Parks Board?
the Parks Board to have discussion on it. Otherwise, then we don't have no reason to have a Parks Board if we don't run things through there.
Well, Derek, I don't know, is it that, it's not that timely? I mean, you guys are gonna meet in.
No, I just,
Oh, boy.
I want to help the Maple Lake Association kind of get their ball rolling on this. They're trying to gather a lot over the next holiday weekend. They have a lot of people in town. There's been a lot of people out there getting the signatures. It's a long process from here to the finish, and the goal is to be able to have it going so that they can have it done by the year end, so they can actually start getting funds by 2019. The longer it gets dragged out, the longer it takes for them to get the funds. But
Yeah,
if we want to take a month, it's not here nor there. I'm okay if you guys want to take it and go through the parks. That's fine.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, if it's our vote that tips the scales, then I have some concerns anyway.
I don't
I mean,
likely foresee that to be the case.
So then, we can say that we're
Neutral.
well. No, we can say that the board is
But I look at it as
interested in it, but I'd rather, like I said, I'd rather see the parks go to it. That way get the chance for me to get a little more info on it too.
I just look at it as we're representing the average lake user in the county, because we have the holding for public access to that lake, and I want to make sure that we're preserving the quality of the water and the quality of that lake for all the citizens, and that's the reason why we're paying our assessment, why we want to participate in this lid. I'm not looking at it as, I'm just trying to ante up for the county as a whole, not as just the parcel holder for that property.
So,
I mean, if you guys are, I just look forward to, it's, at this point, the chips fall, they fall. I mean, but if you guys want to have a more discussion on it at the parks, that's
Unless
fine.
you would, we have the motion now.
I'll remove it if you guys are, is that the intent that you guys might want?
I think it wouldn't hurt, I'm with Mark. I mean, I'd like to see the Parks Board at least take a look at it. It sounds like they're gonna be supportive anyway. I think it's gonna happen, I think.
So, I mean, I'll remove my motion then if you guys want some more time. So.
I'll make motion to table it then until the middle of July.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Derek, so they're meeting tonight, you said?
For the...
Are they meeting, is the Lake Association meeting tonight?
No,
Oh,
the city, Maple Lake City
Okay, got
Council,
it.
I didn't get a final say from them,
Okay.
whether they were gonna have it on their agenda to sign it or not, but I know, speaking with some of the council people, that they were in favor of it, so I'm...
Okay.
Okay, and then, Mike, are you okay?
if he withdraws motion, that makes
It kind of takes your second away, huh? Okay, and Commissioner Dryden got a motion, is that the correct motion to table it?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay, motion to table by Commissioner Dryden and a second by, to table it?
I thought somebody seconded, didn't they?
I didn't hear a second.
No.
You're on.
Well,
Can I second it?
well, then we could just not deal with it then either, I guess. That's,
Mr. Chair, you need to call for that second 3 times.
okay. Well, I'm not hearing a second, I don't hear a second, so, okay, so the motion fails for lack of a second, so, it just stays open then. We didn't act on it.
And Mr. Chair, would you like that brought back to the July 11th meeting? Would that provide enough time for the appropriate committees and
Why don't we
cities
do
to
that?
meet?
I would say the week after that,
Okay.
to give the chance for the minutes to be done.
Okay,
July 18th.
So Lee, are we looking at July 18th then?
Yes.
okay, we'll bring it back July 18th, and Derek, I don't think it'll be an issue, so. Okay, sounds good. Next up,
Mr. Chair, let's not lose sight of Bob's final item.
Yeah.
yes.
Item
No,
number
that's what I
3,
say next.
and I would recommend, since we do have the public hearing at 9:30, that maybe we move to that.
Okay,
You want to take a liquor license real quick?
I think we have time.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Board, we have a request, an application for a one-day liquor license. This is the American Legion Post in Clearwater Township. We have the proper fees, we have the proper application. I'm asking you to approve the license.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for the American Legion Post 323 in Clearwater Township.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Betts, second by Commissioner Dryden. Commissioner Houston, did you have?
No, I was seconding.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Board,
Motion
my
carries.
items did not have anything related to ditches, so
Okay. And Virgil, we're sorry, I don't know if we have time, we have a public hearing at 9:30.
Time is it?
Is
Mr.
it
Chair,
real
he'd
quick?
be able to pop those out.
Okay,
So
come on
Virgil
up,
can
then
get back to work.
I
I don't think
As long as
the
you-
audience would be upset if it was
I'll make
1
it
minute
quick
late, would you?
here. Good morning,
Morning.
Okay.
Chairman Brown, Board of Commissioners. 2 items to consider today. One is to approve a resolution of final acceptance for our Highway 35 improvement project last year in that location called Wolf Swamp. We did the lightweight fill project there and opened it up before the county fair. Everything's completed, and this is a resolution of final acceptance. We'd request you approve.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to approve the final acceptance.
I'll second that.
By Commissioner Potter, second by
With
Commissioner
the-
Houston.
Thank you for doing that project because it's wonderful going over
I've heard
that
a couple
area.
good
Oh, yeah.
words about it.
So it's holding up well.
Yes.
Really, really
Good.
works slick.
All right, and this is a resolution, Commissioner Houston, can you start?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
and then next up, Virgil.
Second item today is requesting to set a Transportation Committee meeting. There's several items related to transportation we'd like to go over with the board, and
Did you have a date to recommend?
there's some suggested dates here on the board action form. Monday, July 17th in the afternoon, or Wednesday, July 19th, or Monday, July 24th, or Tuesday, July 25th in the afternoon.
July 19th I'm okay with, or 18th and 19th is good for me.
And what time on the 19th?
Anytime, morning or afternoon works for us.
1 o'clock would work for me.
1 o'clock would work for me.
Make it work.
Work for me also.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'd also like to add an agenda item, right? There's 4 items right now. I'd like to add a 5th item to talk about outlying shops planning.
Shop planning.
So 1 o'clock on the 19th.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set a Transportation Committee meeting of the whole for Wednesday, July 19th at 1 o'clock out at the highway.
It'll be at the highway building.
At the highway building.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Further discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
We did it.
Thank you.
It's 9:30.
Nice hustle.
And we have a public hearing. Who's going to take the lead? Greg? Assistant County Attorney.
I'll try to be
Mr.
just as
Greg
quick
Price.
on my part as our esteemed highway engineer is speedy. So,
Good luck.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm here at the request of the board to present to you ordinance amendment number 17-1, which would create mandatory inspections for East and West Lake Sylvia, Lake John, and Pleasant Lake. And it would set up a regional inspection program, which has been, my understanding, funded or has been kind of processed by the Greater Lake Sylvia Lake Association through a grant funding opportunity that they acquired. Just to let the board know, the letters that we have received are part of the board packet. And we received a letter in favor of the project from the Sugar Lake Association, the Minnesota Lakes and Rivers Advocates, also the Southside Township Board of Supervisors passed a motion in favor of the ordinance amendment. The Lake Augusta Association submitted an email indicating that they strongly support the ordinance, and we received one written comment in opposition from an anonymous local resident. And then yesterday we received a phone call, which Coordinator Kelly forwarded to all the board members, but I'll also just briefly try to touch on it. Senator Bill Ingebrigtsen from District 8 out of Alexandria called us up. He is the chair of the Environment and Natural Resources Finance Committee. And he indicated that he was in favor of it, of the proposed ordinance. He indicated that he felt that we were actually moving quite faster than the DNR and that the Lake Association was moving faster than the DNR, which I don't think should come as a surprise to too many people that the regulatory behemoth of the DNR is not moving too quickly on these items, but he's indicated that the committee fully supports this.
Mr. Chair.
To move forward on it.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Ingebrigtsen has a house on Lake Ida where I have a resort up in Alexandria. He's very active on our lake association that we have there. And this is one of his key causes that he's in there. He's the chair of environmental. He's where the money comes from. And he has been frustrated by DNR's lack of speed. And he's encouraging anything to move forward with this because he sees the problem that needs to be something needs to be done. And anybody that's ever talked with Senator Ingebrigtsen knows he cares deeply about his causes, and he is very vocal. And I've known him for 21 years, and he is a straightforward, stand-up, no-nonsense kind of person. And a recommendation from him to go forward is pretty much a stamp for me to say this does make sense, because if it didn't, he'd tell you it doesn't make sense, because he's pretty firm on these items here.
So, Mr. Chair, I can answer any questions, otherwise we can open for public comment.
Okay, and then did you want to entertain a question or so up here first?
If you have any, I can answer them quick, but otherwise,
just that, because we did talk at one time in the Ways and Means about inspecting when the boats leave, because as you know, Lake Sylvia is infested with quite a few of the items already, the starry stonewort, the zebra mussel, and something else too, I can't remember. Yeah. So is it they were going to get treated after they leave?
That would be voluntary. It's not part of the ordinance. if you were to try to make it mandatory, we would have no method to enforce that, absent a deputy following every boat that leaves there to make sure that they go back to the city of Annandale, which would not work. If you're going to do mandate post-inspection, then you need to have someone at the landing during the hours. It's the only way to enforce it. I know that the Greater Lake Sylvia Lake Association would like to do that. However, we can't enforce it without someone at the landing 24/7, or at least during the main hours, unfortunately. We can't follow people back to the city of Annandale.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Doyle.
Is there going to be a bite in this? I mean...
what's that?
A cost associated with not doing what they're supposed to do?
In theory, it's a misdemeanor.
For the first, I'm assuming for the first year or so, it'll mostly be an educational opportunity. I'm hoping that's what their plan is.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dahllight, and that would be at the discretion of the Wright County Sheriff.
And the
Wright County Attorney.
Okay.
If it gets
I thought there was two
but
parties
it starts at the Wright County
that.
Sheriff, and then it comes to us. Has to get through that first layer of discretion.
Okay. Well, if there's anything else up here, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, give them the rules about stating your name and everything.
Okay. Yeah, when you do come up and speak, if you give your name and address, or name and at least if you're on one of the lakes or something, so we can identify that way a little bit, so.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Chris Hector. I'm the president of the Greater Lake Sylvia Association, and I'm speaking in favor of the proposed ordinance. The list of invasive species is long. Curly leaf, milfoil, spiny water flea, zebra mussels, starry stonewort, hydrilla, and there's more coming. And one of the things that they all have in common is that inspections and cleaning and decontamination are the one opportunity that you have to address all of these. And do so in a cost-effective manner. In 2012, the DNR published a study where they outlined regional inspections, and they estimated that regional inspections would be 10 times more cost-effective in doing the inspection programs than you could possibly do at the ramp. What we're asking for today through your vote is the opportunity to prove that that's true. We've established a pilot program. We have the support of the city of Annandale, the townships, many lake associations that are represented here, Minnesota Lakes and Rivers, Minnesota Coalition of Area Lakes, and many of the folks that are volunteering their time and energy to work on this project are not from the three lakes that are represented here, but from the lake community that believe that this is an opportunity to leverage and make more effective use of our taxpayer dollars to fight what has become a very serious problem. One other point that I'd like to make is that our window is closing. We have this opportunity to do an ordinance. We've been working on this for 6 months. We were able to get from the Initiative Foundation a grant of $623,000 in matching funds. We have a donation of land from the city of Annandale, and we have 2 committees. We probably have 25 different folks from all areas of expertise, all contributing to this project. But we need, our window is closing because in July will be the last opportunity for the Initiative Foundation to provide funding. And they've given us 6 months to put this together, lay out the framework. With your vote today, we can take this now back to the DNR, submit our official proposal, and get our funding. So really, this is kind of do or die time. It's essential that we be able to move this forward. And what we'll provide with this is we will then prove, we will go out, we will do the work, we'll do the surveys, we'll do the engineering, and we'll show that this is, in fact, more efficient and will scale. And others across the state are looking to this. The state statute's been on the books for a number of years, and nobody has yet taken advantage of it. So I submit to you that this is our opportunity to show that when the legislator gave to the counties money to be innovative, to reach out, to find better ways of doing this, this is our opportunity to tell them that this was the right choice. Thank you.
Chris, thank you. Oh, I have a question. You know, because what we are talking about, like with the float the boat and all the, you know, the treatment and stuff, this is, when I read the ordinance, actually just the verbiage, it's just an inspection, you know.
Exactly.
Explain that a little bit.
Sure. So regional inspections are kind of an enabling technology. It allows us to get the boats to a regional inspection site. Right now, if I was, you know, we couldn't possibly do float the boat or any other enhanced treatment at each ramp. We absolutely have to get them to a central location. So this vote, all you're doing is you're putting together that very important ordinance that allows us to get boaters to the place where we can actually do a thorough job of inspecting them. We can inspect hopefully 10 times more boats than we're able to do now. And when we've completed our inspection, that boat or that lake equipment is there with our existing hot water decontamination and any enhanced cleaning that we can do. And really that's going to be a subsequent step. It's part of our grant, but we need this first.
Okay. So, but then it doesn't designate though where it was inspected at or whatever, the ordinance. Maybe Greg, I don't know if you can speak to that or.
I would say, Mr. Chair, this is setting up, you know, the ordinance. It's not setting up all the procedures. So this allows them to put both the boat and, you know, where they're doing the inspections and that kind of thing.
And it's only for those 4 lakes listed.
No, I got that, but if, you know, when we vote today, I mean, if this passes, it takes effect immediately, right? So how are people going to know where to get their boat inspected at? And I guess it doesn't give a lot of detail.
Well, it doesn't give the details about all the signage and that kind of thing, but, you know, because some of those procedures may shift slightly, so you can't have, you know, every detail, and Mr. Kreiser can speak better to it than I can.
Speak better to it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hewsome, and members of the board, the ordinance that's before you just creates a mandatory inspection process. We're not mandating where you get it inspected. There will be a regional inspection, understanding that will be created in the city of Annandale that will serve that mandatory purpose in the ordinance. We're not mandating that it be done in a certain location or anything like that, just that the boat be inspected prior to coming.
Okay, and then Chris, how long, I mean, I know you want to get this done as fast as you can too, but how long do you think it would take to get the construction and everything done for the float the boat project, in the treatment that way?
Well,
next year or later this year? Maybe?
The float the boat, we're still trying to get that done this year.
Okay.
It'd be later in the year. There are a number of hurdles. It may extend into next year. But we can do the regional inspections, and that can start up. Our goal is July.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, so this inspection site is going to be ran by the GLSA? Is going to manage it, or?
No, the GLSA basically petitioned and arranged the financing through the Initiative Foundation. So our involvement, we're contributing resources and dollars to it as is Lake John and Pleasant. But Alicia is representing the Soil and Water Conservation District. They're the delegated authority. They're the ones with the responsibility of running inspections wherever they occur.
Mr. Chair, can I have one more question? So there's $623,000 from the Initiative Foundation. Is that a 50% match that you have to have on that?
Yeah, so that's a 50% match. That goes against all the volunteer labor that's going into it. It basically matches the dollars the county is already passing through the county aid for AIS. And again, for the donation of land from the city of Annandale. So all of those things, total out and count.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, Alicia's next up.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. I'm Alicia O'Hare. I am the County Water Planner, and I've met some of you, but I haven't had the chance to introduce to a few of you, so hello. We are the delegated authority for AIS inspections according to the DNR. I do have copies of the plan that this ordinance will support. Does anyone need one? I did send it to you this morning.
Sure. I mean, if you have one.
I can.
Thank you.
Sure.
Greg, have you seen this yet?
Oh, wait, you know what? I printed that already.
You do that one?
Yeah, I printed
I got an email.
Grab one too, please.
And just to let you know what the timeline currently is for this, is that today here we're looking to pass the ordinance. The next thing that will occur is the Soil and Water Board is meeting today at 4:30, and that will be to approve the plan. Once the Soil and Water Board does approve the plan, we will submit it to the DNR for approval. And at the same time, the city of Annandale is looking at the site plan for the location, and that meeting will occur on July 10th. And then once we have approval from both the city of Annandale for the site and the DNR commissioner, we will, that is when we will be able to have operations, to the regional inspection site can be up and running and the plan.
So you're assuming the DNR will move quickly on this?
That would be that's up to the DNR. So.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Mr. Pett.
I'm sure that the DNR is under intense pressure from Senator Ingebrigtsen at this point in time, so any delay on their part would have the wrath of Bill upon them. I got to believe that they're going to take action on this very quickly when it comes before them. Unlike at our Lake Ida, which we're frustrated where they've known for 2 years that their DNR-controlled wetland is the cause of our phosphorus issue on our lake, and they've done nothing. We've singled out everything about them, and they're still not going forward. So I know Bill's got an extra axe to grind there on their tardiness for addressing issues. So I'm confident that once it gets to the DNR, they're not gonna waste their time tabling and dawdling with this. They're gonna take action quickly.
We would hope so. We are anticipating a member of the DNR to attend our special meeting tonight. So hopefully we will have a representative there, but this does need to go to the DNR commissioner himself, so.
Mr. Chair, Alicia, my understanding is that the DNR is waiting for us as a county board to pass this ordinance, then they can move forward, correct?
Correct. They are waiting for the official plan as well, which is why the Soil and Water Board scheduled our special meeting for tonight.
4:30 today.
Yes, so I dropped my talking points somewhere. Oh, thank you very much. Sorry about that. So I would like to take this opportunity to applaud the Greater Lake Sylvia Association because they have put so much effort into doing this, especially while I was unavailable I was on maternity leave for 2 months this spring. So they did quite a bit of work. And also just for not losing heart after last year. They had 2 really tough blows with receiving or discovering zebra mussels and starry stonewort at their lake. So very, very good on the lake associations and the lake community for their support of them as well. This is a really good theory because obviously AIS is still spreading, yes. And it could be worth trying something different, such as these mandatory inspections. And just to give you an idea of what is happening now on these 4 accesses, Lake John and Lake Sylvia are our highest priority for providing inspectors, and the county is only able to provide 42 hours per week. We try to focus that on the weekends as much as possible. And that's in the amount of about $21,000 that we contribute on an annual basis. Lake Pleasant, which doesn't have significant AIS to my knowledge, gets 12 hours per week. Ideally, we put 6 hours of that on the weekend and 6 hours during the week. And that's just an idea of what's happening on these lakes right now. And the majority of lake accesses in the county are similar to that 12 hours per week, which obviously is not a lot of coverage. That's what this plan could definitely provide. The Soil and Water Conservation District does have some concerns regarding this plan. The foremost is the loss of exit inspections as it stands right now. The Lake Sylvia and Lake John do both have very significant and aggressive aquatic invasive species, and this plan will remove exit inspections from those accesses because if an inspector is on site and they request an exit inspection of a boater, it is mandatory while they are there. If there's no inspector on the access, which this plan would create that situation, there is no exit inspection as Mr. Kreiser has stated. And that's not just a risk to Wright County lakes, it's all lakes in the state and the country for wherever a boater might go afterwards. Having said that, it could be worth considering leaving some inspectors on the accesses temporarily as part of a trial period, which would provide a great deal of education for boaters that would end up being part of the regional inspection. We all know we have our pet lakes. So someone who constantly goes to Lake Sylvia would have the chance to be educated about the regional inspection program while having an inspector. That would incur an additional cost, though, and we recognize that. We do have a concern about the current site. As far as the size and the viability of it, it would require some fill and grading to get to a large size. At this point, talking with our engineers, we're looking at one boat being inspected at a time and one being in decontamination. An inspection would take 5 to 10 minutes. A decontamination can take 15 or more minutes, depending on the size of the boat. And on a large traffic weekend, such as Labor Day weekend, that could cause significant wait times for people on the site. While this plan could make inspections more cost-effective, it is going to cost more dollars overall. So by my calculation, just to staff a site like this will cost about $117,000 to go from May 1st until the end of September. And our current decontamination budget is about $35,000, and the inspections is at $130,000. Now, we do have dollars now from the Initiative Foundation and then contributions from the Lake Association, but in the long term, we could potentially get more dollars from the state, and that would be fantastic. But right now, there's nothing. Yes, Mr. Chair.
That's Alicia, right?
Yes.
Alicia. I always say Alicia. I have a niece. Okay, but so do we have a mechanism, or will you possibly put a mechanism in effect if the wait gets so long to wave people through? Or, you know, I mean, what?
Well,
what would happen? I mean, because
sure.
I'm not going to want to hear about somebody said I waited 3 hours, or I waited, I wouldn't even want them to say I waited an hour and a half at the inspection site, you know. What other mechanism? Because right now what we're doing, and I got it, it's not working, obviously, but at least we're not hearing the long waits, I guess.
Yes, correct, Mr. Chair. The hope is that the majority of boats would only require an inspection, which would be about 5 minutes. And the ideal would be, okay, you pass the inspection, we will seal your boat, give you the receipt, and you can be on your way, enjoy Lake Sylvia, Lake John, Lake Pleasant. However, and it is important to note that if an inspector does indicate that a boat requires decon, that boat then must go through decon or potentially face AIS charges that are already on statute. So it would be depending on how many decontaminations are required, would be what would limit or cause the delays. If the site can be expanded, we can certainly provide enough staff to get those inspections going, and then hopefully have decontamination. Right now, we only have 1 unit. Depending on what happens in the future, we could potentially have more possibilities for decontamination to occur and to occur faster. We just want to, make it known that, in order for the site to expand beyond what I estimate is about 1 acre to be usable right now, to be greater than that, it would require significant fill. Do you have any other questions regarding that?
Oh, Commissioner Houston.
I just have a comment. We talked about signage, and you have some info about signage in here, but can we do something like as people are leaving these lakes, have a sign saying, please be responsible and have your boat inspected?
Well, decontaminated if they're leaving.
And inspected to make sure that they're not carrying, any of the invasives on there. I mean, that to me it's not a mandatory thing, it's not part of the ordinance, but you would hope that people would be responsible and not want to spread it to bring it back to their lake and whatever other lake they're going to. If they're in a lake that has identified and found these invasives, that they would want to they'd want to be inspected and make sure that they're not carrying them to another site. But I don't know if that's something that we can look at as lake associations or what,
I think you are largely correct, Commissioner, that the majority of boaters do want to be responsible and do follow the clean, drain, dry procedures that the DNR outlines. There is reminder signage as far as to clean, drain, and dry your boat at all DNR accesses. The DNR will allow for us to put some signage in there. Obviously, they don't want us to bombard the access, and with the exception of the city access on Lake Pleasant. The other 3 are DNR accesses, and we will need permission from them for any signs or anything that we put on their access. They have requested that our signage and drop box infrastructure be as condensed as possible, but that is a definite option to remind people even more to do an exit inspection.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, one question was, I was concerned on losing the exit inspectors. Mostly that's because you're going to take those hours and use them at the decontamination site is what I'm guessing.
Yes.
Fellow commissioners, I think that's one of the best way to stop the spread of it is, the decontamination, the inspection station is huge, but I think especially on Lake Sylvia where the Starry Stone where the zebra mussels are there, the exit inspectors is probably one of your frontline deterrent from spreading. That's the only reason I think it's important that we find ways that we try to keep that there.
If I may comment, please, Commissioner, part of the theory of this is that as this expands, there will be less need to have quote-unquote exit inspections, because if all lakes are required to have an entry inspection, you don't need an exit inspection because they're always inspected beforehand. And that depends on the success of this program and how far does it go? Does it go countywide? Does it go statewide? And then, just to be frank, it will depend on the dollars available in order to fund such sites, as I stated.
I agree. As it spreads, it would be able to get rid of that. I agree. That's a great statement. Hopefully, you can get to the point where more people can have an entry take care of it, so the exit doesn't matter.
Well, we're going to try something.
Yep.
I agree. We do.
If anybody doesn't think it's an issue, YouTube or Google YouTube and look at Lake Cronus, and
I know.
if you think it's a conspiracy, that video should show you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, my name is Joe Schneider. I'm the president of the Christmas Lake Homeowners Association. I also happen to be the chair of the regional coalition, the Coalition of Minnehaha Creek Waters, and I'm on the board of Minnesota COLA, which is a statewide organization, a volunteer statewide organization that works to protect the lakes. I'm also on the review committee for the $4 million in initiative grants that is provided for AIS pilot programs. I'm here to voice my support today for the proposed ordinance. I've been involved in the AIS prevention efforts since 2011 and do this virtually full-time. I'm not going to speak to the economic impacts of AIS, as you understand that in Wright County far better than I do, but it is a very significant concern, and I think we're just starting to see the real tip of that. AIS takes a while to make an impact. As you may know, the state statute that allows regional inspections has been on the books since the summer of 2012 to be effective for the first boating season in 2013. I have been working on a personal basis to try to get a regional inspection program operating since 2012. We know we can always increase the amount of lakes that are covered. We can increase the amount of hours that are covered at a particular landing by throwing more dollars at it. The problem is it's a linear equation at that point. The cost curve is linear. Every additional landing you want to protect costs more money. Every additional hour you want to put in costs more money. I think Alicia's numbers were spot on. I can tell you at Christmas Lake we have 100% inbound inspection from the moment the control gate goes up at 6 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. We run those virtually full-time from April 15th to October 31st. We have a decon unit on site. We have inspectors that are approved as level 2 AIS inspectors by the state. We spend approximately $85,000 for one ramp every summer. That amount of money is not scalable. You can't do that across the state. The idea of wait times, I think, is a very significant concern. This is a pilot. We're going to learn something from it. It, quite frankly, is pretty cost-effective to add some additional inspector staffing for holiday weekends. Watch the weather reports. You know if it's going to be a beautiful boating weekend, you can staff up. You can put another inspector on site for a certain amount of hours and double the amount of inspection capacity almost immediately. So there are a variety of things you can do to eliminate the wait times as you get more sophisticated, as you learn something about how the traffic patterns actually happen. This solution breaks the mold. Every solution that has been put in place to date has been less about cost, has been focused less about cost and more about boater convenience. And every one of these solutions that gets put in place is done with virtually no additional cost to the boater. The AIS inspection, the AIS fees on a boat registration have not increased in many years. It's about $1.40, $1.35, $1.45 a year per boat, and it has been that way for many years, while the state's spending on AIS has ratcheted up dramatically. So we've got to finally break the mold, and I think you're on the edge of doing that, where you are balancing the needs to protect the waters, the public waters of Minnesota, the public waters in Wright County, and certainly the public waters in these pilot lakes, with some concern for boater convenience. I think the scales have been tipped way to the other side, and I think you have the opportunity to do this. And as was said, the faster you can get to inbound inspections for more of the Wright County lakes, the greater your protection. That's been a model that we've been advocating for a long time in Minnesota COLA. Get every lake inspected on the inbound. If you get them inspected on the inbound, you cover the outbound. You know, can you do that in Wright County? I don't know, right? We looked at that in Carver County, and they were struggling with all that. Until today, quite frankly, until this meeting, we haven't found a local government unit with enough political will to deal with this balance. And I just want to thank you for taking the serious concern on moving forward with this new path to address AIS at a much more effective cost point, and let's start it in Wright County. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Joe, I'll just make a comment. What you said, though, about the scales tipping one way or the other, I'll just throw out my criticism of the DNR, because I think they knew this stuff was happening a decade ago. And why weren't there mechanisms put in back then? I think the writing was on the wall, but yet no one wanted to rock the boat, so to speak. But to make waves.
Chair, with all due respect, be careful.
Let me see. I got one more. But it was, this is a big fish, I gotta please. They're gonna put me on late night pretty soon here. But no, but my point is, we're way behind the curve on this, and it's almost, I hate to say it, but it's almost maybe we're too late. This should have been done 10 years ago. This should have been done.
Zebra mussels have been around a lot longer than 10 years.
It should have been taken care of, and I hope that that's not the case, and we'll find out, because now, Lake Pleasant, does that have starry stonewort? Okay, so. Okay, so this will be a good test now to say, unless they're already there and they're just not detected.
Right.
But now for Sylvia, it's too late, and that's a shame. It's a real shame. So anyway, but that is exactly right, though. It's time for the
Mr. Chair.
Scales to come back the other way. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emphasis again, this is a pilot project. We should be more interested in the results than worry about the minutia if it costs us a couple extra bucks here and there. At the end of the pilot, we'll know either A, it works, or B, it doesn't work. And if it works, great, then we have the leverage to get the state to take a bigger step in this. If it doesn't work, then we go to plan B, and okay, if this didn't work, let's try something else. We have nothing to lose by trying it, and I just don't want to get caught up in the minutia of, oh, it might cost us a couple extra dollars here. I mean, those of us that own lakeshore property are real concerned. Those that don't live on lakeshore probably don't think of it as much, because they just go to the lake and they go recreate and they go away. Yep. But those of us that live on the lake are really concerned about this, because once you come there and do your weekend warrior and go away, I get to live with the mess that you just made. So I'm in favor of this pilot project. Fantastic. Wright County, we have a lot of lakes here, and this is part of the draw that people have here, because we're close to the metro. We have really nice lakes, and I just want to keep them that way.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not even sure I need to stand here, but Mr. Chair, Commissioners, my name is Kathy Johnsrud. My address is 7646 Isaac Avenue Northwest here in Annandale. I am here today representing the Wright County Coalition of Lake Associations, the COLA. Our mission is to work together with lake associations and public agencies to improve water quality. It is a great day to be voicing support for the regional Watercraft inspection pilot. Commissioners, I know you have worked a great deal of work, and there have been numerous compromises to get to this point. Your service is deeply appreciated by the lake community. I understand you are familiar with the facts and data regarding the increased efficiency of the regional decon site. Yes, this pilot will change the way we use our lakes, but a change is needed to protect our precious waters and preserve their value to our tax base and economy in Wright County. The Wright County COLA believes that the inspections and decontaminations can reduce the spread of aquatic invasive species. However, more important is that a culture change is needed. It is neither wise nor good stewardship to use our lakes without mindful and consistent inspections and decontaminations when moving between lakes. This pilot provides a reasonable trial run for the required inspections and decontaminations. And in fact, one of the items we're working on in the pilot is to communicate well that the boats can be inspected and if needed, decontaminated before you go to John, Sylvia, or Pleasant. You get the zip tie on the trailer, and that zip tie is good till you go and launch. So again, they can plan ahead to avoid any wait times. To bring home the point that we should and could be doing more in Wright County, another gem of the heart of the lakes was found to have zebra mussels last Friday, my home lake. Sorry for the emotion, but it was real difficult news. We still are evaluating the extent of the zebra mussel infestation, but I do know in my heart that it would have been less expensive to prevent the infestation than to deal with the consequences. In closing, to pass this ordinance, you would show the state of Minnesota leadership and wisdom. It will provide a model to other counties to protect the most valuable resource. We are very close to being the first county in Minnesota to figure it out and begin to move the needle in a thoughtful and appropriate manner. I urge your yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
Again, the wisdom part you kind of worry, you wonder about. I think it's more of the, we can't wait any longer, that we need to do something, you know, and you can't wait for other people to make up their mind what to do. We, as the citizens of Wright County, that need to push forward and do something. Like say, breaking the mold. We need to, okay, this hasn't worked, try something else.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'm John Rogers. I'm from Clemson University in South Carolina. I'm here to, as one of those volunteers from outside that wants to see how you react to this and how folks react to this. This is a very interesting pilot project. I'm here to speak in support of it. The country is watching this situation. You folks have a unique opportunity here to intervene. I don't need to tell you that your water resources are important. You obviously know that. I don't need to tell you that you've got AIS moving around at an unprecedented rate. You obviously know that. I don't need to tell you that we've got only our right hand and our left hand that we can use to intervene in these situations. On one hand, we've got our in-lake interventions. We've got opportunities, once we have these species in the lakes, to try to deal with them. You've got a unique opportunity right here, right now, to deal with starry stonewort in Lake Sylvia. We may set a world record in terms of dealing with that species unlike it's ever been dealt with before. The left hand, the other hand that's going to help us is the prevention, and that's the aspect that we're talking about today. Without those two hands, we can't solve this problem. I've been working on this problem for more than 40 years, all over North America, South America, Europe, and Africa, all over the place. Not starry stonewort, but other problems. There's rice dying in California this morning due to algae. There's all kinds of issues that crop up. But you've got a unique opportunity here to get a pilot project underway, learn as you go, make the changes that you need, and I think, you know, I know we're going to put a lot of energy and effort into it to be successful and to make sure this project is successful. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Dr. Rogers, thank you so much for all you've done. I mean, I've referred to you many times in different talks that, you know, you've been, the Lake Sylvia people have been working with you, and it's wonderful to have your expertise. So
I just would say that I think the whole board would echo that. So
thank you.
Without objection.
Without objection. Hey, Mr. Chair, this comes from the commissioner that's not for re-election right now.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you. My name is Jim Kutzner. I'm president of the Clearwater Lake Property Owners Association, and I'm here to speak in favor of this project. I'll be brief. Clearwater is obviously not directly part of the project, but we are very well aware of it. We're beginning to participate in the Lake Sylvia group. I want to commend the Lake Sylvia group and Dr. Rogers and all the other participants for taking up the charge. And this really is going to be in a national spotlight at some point. So I encourage us to work on it, move forward. As I said, Clearwater is not directly a part of it. We straddle two counties. We realized it was going to get very complicated. Our access points are actually in Stearns County, or two DNR access points are in Stearns County. But we recognize the importance of inspection. We did discuss at our board level the difference between inbound and outbound inspections. We recognize the cost involved in trying to do it one way, and so consequently we support this. This is potentially a very huge project. I'm a recently retired engineer. I've managed huge projects all the way up to 9 figures, and when you want to get something done, you have to break it down into really small parts and focus on that and really focus on the tasks. So we're here to support and work with Lake Sylvia and the group, and we support this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. Morning. Chairman, board members. My name is Ron Elsner. I'm Vice Chair of Sugar Lake Association. And Clearwater folks spoke up. We're the next door neighbors. My letter representing Sugar Lake Association is part of the record, so I won't go into great detail other than to say Sugar Lake Association's voluntary organization represents, right now our membership is a little over 200 properties out of the 325 on Sugar Lake. This year our budget for inspections, access inspections, is just about $27,000. Excuse me. That's in addition to anything that the county provides. So Sugar Lake is very active in the whole process. We look for the opportunity to become part of the pilot when that becomes available. We fully support regional inspection. We think outbound is important as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is anyone else?
Is there anybody against?
Anybody who doesn't like clean water, step forward.
Mr. Chair and the board, I'm Peter Peshek. My wife and I have a place on Granite Lake, and I'm the kind of water guy on Granite. My training is in chemistry and biochemistry, all at Minnesota. And I think, if you think about this from almost a preventing infections, if we cut the transmission mode of transmission like we would in this method, where we have a boat that might be contaminated, maybe you can't even see what's the veligers for zebra mussels are so small you can't see them. Bulbills for starry stonewort, size of a small peppercorn. You could walk around it and not see it. So we need really vigorous inspections and decontamination. So I'm here to support. I'm a retired biochemist. I'm spending time with these guys in Sylvia a lot to bring some expertise to the problem. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
If we have any cost overages, can we send a bill to Ron Shara? Yeah.
You want to make that in the form of a motion?
Yeah. He has articles all the time, and he has the deadly dozen for walleyes and all this other stuff. And as a resort owner for a couple decades, it has a tendency when he gets that in the paper, your lake gets flooded with people right away. And some of them go out at night. They go to work the next day, go back out to the next lake, and it's more of ignorance of what they're doing. They just want to go fishing. But they come out there, it's more half-hearted joke, but it's every time I see Ron Shara, I always tell him that, maybe you spend a little bit more time with your show on education about aquatic species, invasive species, instead of just say, this is a great lake because me and my homies spent the weekend there for free. Just a commentary.
Okay. Anyone further from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public input and bring it back up here for action.
Mr. Chair, I will just let you know that I also have a letter of support from the city of Annandale supporting the regional inspections.
Okay, we'll enter that into the record as well.
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank the Lake Association, Soil and Water, Dr. Rogers, all of you that have spent a lot of time. Us as a board can't take all that much credit for this. It's all of you in this room and those that are involved out there that have got us to this point. And I want to thank everyone on putting us at a point where hopefully we can make a change countywide, statewide to hopefully control this issue.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I don't think I've ever seen a grassroots effort that has moved this quickly and this effectively. I mean, they have been just so diligent, and I mean,
where were they 10 years ago?
I mean,
sleeping.
20 years ago.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance amendment number 17-1.
I second that.
Okay, we're going to make a motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Did hear better in my left ear.
Do we, this isn't
it's not a resolution, just
not a resolution.
We table it?
Further discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Susan, did you want a short break at all?
Take 5.
It would be a good time if we.
It would make sense, Mr. Chair.
Why don't we'll take a 5-minute chair recess. Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. If you could please close the door on the way out, maybe. Could you close the door on the way out too, Alicia? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, after
Yes,
just
go
speaking with some of the people there, I think it's in our interest to draft a letter of urgency to send to the DNR to act on this quickly as a board, to help maybe push it along. I think as a board to, I don't know what the process would be for it, but just to draft some sort of a letter, that we'd like to have some sort of a swift process to moving this through the DNR.
Yes, I also had some discussions, Mr. Chair, right after the vote here, and if it's possible to do that without having to...
I just can't understand why you think the DNR is going to take too long to do with anything.
They haven't done this before, so, I think...
No, I think they're coming around, though. They see the need for this, too, so.
So if we send a letter of support, I think that would be
At
great.
least a letter, yeah.
And,
Well, I would think since we passed an ordinance that it goes without
Well,
saying that there's support.
but to request that they're move this along
Expeditiously.
quickly. Yes.
Yeah.
Lee, is that something that you would be able to draft for us? Maybe send it out in an email for any modification, then bring it to the board next Tuesday?
We're not going to be here next week.
Oh, that's right, we're not. Okay.
Any contact information, obviously you might want to send it to the DNR commissioner, but I have two contacts that I've been working with the DNR, I'd be happy to provide.
Why not, maybe send it around, Lee, and it could just come from you.
I'll make a motion to have a letter sent to the DNR.
Have Lee send a letter to the DNR. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Delyden, second by Commissioner Hewsome to have Lee draft a letter to send to the DNR to speed things along on this issue.
Just forge the board signature.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next up, Committee of the Whole to discuss the Wright County Transit. So we need a date. It'll be a Committee of the Whole. Lee, did you have some proposed dates at all?
No, I did not have in mind. We could look following the next board meeting, which would be on the 11th, perhaps.
Mr.
We have
Chair, that's
leadership at 11.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we could do it in the afternoon.
Do the afternoon.
Do 12:30 or 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock probably.
Let's- 1 o'clock for lunch,
Leadership, yeah.
Okay, let's do 1 o'clock. Well, I suppose we'll have to have that as a motion too. 1 o'clock.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we set the Committee of the Whole to discuss transit on July 11th at 1 p.m.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Newsom, second by Commissioner Delyden. Discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Mr. Mark Matisse, you're back up again. Seems like can't get rid of you.
Hello again, Mr. Chair.
Do you have any good news?
Good.
No, more bad news.
Shelter's going up at Bertram real nice. The park's
Okay.
being used very good. Schroeder Park is packed with people and boats, and that's why I'm here today. Collinwood's looking good. Yeah, everything. A lot of good stuff out there.
Okay.
Not everything's negative.
How's Rhodes Avenue look?
Rhodes Avenue looks fabulous.
So.
Now to the bad news.
Yeah. Cedar Lake.
Friday, the Cedar Lake Conservation Club, which is the lake association on Cedar Lake, Schroeder Park, is part of the association. Had their people out doing survey work on AIS. A zebra mussel was found, the first one in the lake, just about 10 feet off the access dock at Schroeder Park. Yesterday, and Kathy, you're the president, right? CEO.
Used to be, whatever, yeah.
She's in
Water
charge.
quality chair. Thank you.
She's a water quality chair for Cedar Lake. And Alicia and I were out with the DNR yesterday morning, who went out and did 5 or 6 random spots to see if AIS was contained to one area or if it was all the way down on the south end, which if it's spread throughout the lake, it's kind of, oh well, nothing you can do. Bad thing. Nothing else was found, so the next step is that they have to hire a third-party survey work done to do a more thorough investigation of the area to see if there's more zebra mussels or not. It's gonna cost the Lake Association about $2,500 to do that. At that point, that if they find something or don't find something, the Lake Association's gonna have to meet and vote if they wanna do a pilot treatment or not, because they do qualify right now through the DNR for a pilot treatment. Best guess on that, we're looking at $25,000 to $30,000 for a treatment, closing the Schroeder access for 7 days, which is not a big deal. And I apologize for petitioning this, but I thought it was timeliness so that if they get the third-party investigation done, that they could move forward with what our decisions are, what your decisions are today. And my ask to you is, would you consider assisting them in that expense? We have possibly $10,000 in rapid response grant that they can apply for. Lake Association would then be on the hook for the additional $15,000 if the county doesn't want to come up with some cost share measures. Couple things I considered when it went through my head was, yeah, we have a lot of accesses on a lot of lakes and rivers, but we have 6 swimming beaches in the county. And our 6 swimming beaches they need good water quality. You get zebra mussel infestation on at Cedar Lake and that beach is gone. What happens to the revenue at that campground? It drops dramatically. Collinwood's another one, Beebe Lake and Pleasant Lake. And Dog Lake down by Waverly. And our last beach is obviously Bertram, where we'd be on the hook for everything if we wanted to do treatment there, since we are the only property owner. So knowing that it's a swimming beach and the implications it could have for parking.
And Mark, you kind of touched on it, but I mean, when Sylvia came up with AIS, I mean, we didn't put direct county money in that, but the AIS money, the soil water, used some that came from the state to us to soil water. They used some of that. So what differentiates this? I mean, why you're asking for direct county money now here?
No, he's asking for the AIS money.
No, I'm asking for direct county money. AIS money comes through her.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm saying, I mean, so we have the county swimming beach.
County property.
Yep.
On the lake that we own. And then the use of that county property is what is in my head. It's the swimming beach, which is important to the park use.
I'm worried about,
we have lake access on Little Waverly, and we have lake access on.
Where's it gonna stop,
because or Moses, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. Those are different. Those are lake accesses. Those usage won't change with the AIS. And we are part of those lake associations as well. We are just like any other property owner on the lake. We pay our $30-50. Maple Lake coming up here with the LID. We're part of that association. If it's an LID, we'll be paying our $125 or whatever the taxes will be on that. We pay into the Beebe Lake Association, Pleasant Lake Association, Cedar Lake Association as a regular property owner. But it's the investment in our park on that lake and the use of that park on that lake, and the main use for Schroeder is the swimming beach.
Charlie, I understand your concern.
Yeah, it's a big concern.
But we have we have other funds that we can take strictly from that
park dedication.
So maybe this is, so maybe it should be funded
we could do it that way
through the park.
Right.
So that way we're not, it's not going to be an issue.
I mean, and it's not. I mean, I understand all the concerns and all the thing, and the Lake Association don't have the money, but honestly, the county's not going to have money, because I think it should have been started a long time ago to stop this spread. But now, when we have a lake here and all around, and these boats are going from one to the other, even if they're diligent and try to, stop it, it's still gonna. I just think we're gonna have one lake after another this summer, next summer, and I don't know if we have if that's really our job. But now, if we can do it through parks, if it's a lake where we have a park swimming beach on, why don't, should we maybe just leave that up to the Parks Board, Mark?
So we have, the only parks we have with that fund is the 2 campgrounds.
Yep. But this is a campground, so I'm thinking.
So that would leave out, in that decision, it'd leave out like BB, Dog, Pleasant.
Well, one thing at a time.
But I do think, I mean, if that's where we draw the line, because otherwise, then we have you know, a county property on it, we have this or that. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
I would limit it to our swimming beaches myself.
Okay. And then why don't we
Outside
handle
of
it through the
Pleasant
Parks
Lake, we
Board?
give $1,000 a year for AIS treatment, and they do a lot of it in front of our park.
Is it too late to put this matter on the Parks Board the next meeting?
Well, I think the timing issue is the
It's more of a
problem.
timing issue,
Right.
because what happens if, I don't know when the third party's gonna investigate?
We're thinking Thursday or Friday this week.
Thursday or Friday this week, and if then, by Saturday, they could have their Lake Association meeting and start treatment and park commission.
Yeah, we want to move forward as fast as possible.
Right.
We don't want to take any
Yeah.
risk of
Yeah,
it
you don't
spreading.
want, you don't want to wait till it spreads any further.
So, Mr. Chair, Mark, how much money are you looking of that 15,000? If they get the 10,000?
I would request 5.
5?
The county. I think that's generous.
I think that's fair.
Is it something that we authorize this from the parks money?
Yeah, we can just say that's where it's coming from. So,
Ground fund.
I'll make a motion to approve $5,000 from the campground fund.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Lyden, second by Commissioner Vetch. It's just, okay, that leaves us with 2 of them, you know, so there'll be one more with Collinwood. And
Well,
hopefully they never
we'll
have
deal
to
with
come.
it as they come along,
Right.
but we'll have to figure out something.
I don't want to draw a line in the sand yet.
I mean,
Right.
we did at the Park Commission, we did set kind of a policy that for preventative treatments of AIS, that the max request could be 1,000. We set that a couple years ago, correct, Commissioner Bell?
Yeah,
And they'd have to get that in before budgets, and, you know, Pleasant Lake has put it in. We put it in extra monitoring at Cedar Lake on our access and things like that. So we have had that rule. This would be for pilot treatment of a known one-time expense.
Yeah, well, like you say, if the zebra mussels get a foothold, that beach is worthless.
But, and then the thing is too, Mark, with this motion, if it is, they're doing the study, if they find it in 4 other locations around the lake, then it's not feasible to,
Then the treatment would not occur.
then it would not happen and the 5,000 would not be spent. Okay.
This is just so Kathy can go back to her board when they make that decision. It's only found in one spot. Yes or no, we want to treat.
And the decision is made to treat.
Let's get it done before it causes a problem.
All right.
And on July 10th at the Park Commission, we can come up with have a discussion on how we want to deal with those in the future on other parcels.
Okay, sounds good. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Hope you have a great 4th of July.
You too, thanks.
You too.
Advisory.
Have a busy one.
We're taking our long meeting here today. Advisory Committee, Advisory Board updates.
You wait.
I'll start, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Last Friday, I attended the Association of Minnesota Counties Board of Directors meeting, and I, going through the different things, and President Gary Hendricks, Commissioner Hendrickson, asked about if county government didn't run for a day, what would be the first thing that happened in the different counties we were talking about with it. And I just made the mention that if it was Wright County one day without county government, it'd be free merchandise day at the mall, basically. You know, because if they knew that there was no law enforcement that day, who knows what would go on in there. But going on is, we talked about the budget. There was $3.4 million in reserves in the funds. And since it's been there for a while, there was question of why that's sitting there. And it's boiled out as if we were going to take where our building is and we're to purchase an adjoining property for the parking issues that we have now and some of the maintenance cost on having a building. And we're going to look forward into breaking out that certificate of deposit that we have sitting up, the money there, and more capital improvement where that's going. This is money set aside for the roof, for the parking lot and what have you. So that was a really good discussion there on that. Another item that came up was the 2018, the dues increase. They looked at increasing dues by $47,000 for 2018. And this sounds like this is something that is pretty much a annual thing, you know, for wages, benefits, what have you, that come up. And so they'll have that number broken down as basically a 3.6 increase overall, and the very each individual county's dues will vary from 1.8 to 5.4. It depends on the formula and its population and property market value. And that information will come to Lee prior to budgets, and he'll have that down. And again, back to the, with the reserves, we had a generative discussion about our building, because before AMC had their own building in the 80s, they rented space from 525 Park, which is, I think, referred to as the Associated General Contractors Building. And they decided back in the 80s that they were going to pursue their own, and they ended up buying that. And I believe the building used to be run by MCIT, is what I was under the impression it was. And they decided to buy it, and what they have, they've never had a discussion on, now we have the building, what we're going to do with it. And so the challenges with the space is they're getting close to capacity. Not that they're going to add a lot of staff, but they need a couple little projects that come up with their meetings there. Lack of parking, lack of storage in there. So, and this also, the timing of this came up because a couple of adjacent properties are now up for sale. And so it was discussed and it was decided to allow the executive committee to move forward and entertain purchases on adjoining properties, because you have to, there's like 4 of them you can get in there, otherwise you're landlocked in that property. You've got to figure out which one you can get. And the price on the one, the women's voter one, is not priced outrageous. It was reasonably priced, and the building next to it, that lot is condemned. So I'm sure the city of St. Paul would like that taken care of, but so they're going to go forward, so anticipate that coming up for Association of Minnesota Counties. We continued on with the transportation funding work group. We've gone forward, had a couple discussions with the flavor in there, and Scott Schulke, our second vice president, you know, is taking more of the metro look at things, and more of us were taking a look at, you know, the overall state, not just the metro part of it. And so we had some lively exchanges of discussion on how we should approach this. Moving forward, we need to continue to get the message that the legislature did a great job for providing funding for transportation, but it's a first step, not the final step, and that there's more to be done, and to kind of keep it in a more friendly tone there. Other than that, it goes into about 2:30 before it adjourns, but it's quite a bit of information. Our district director, Felix Schmiesing, was not able to attend that meeting, which is, I'm hoping forward that in the future he'll be able to attend those, because that is important. We've had Dwayne Merrick, and he'd always give us updates of what went down there, and that's always good for us to keep our, you know, a hand on the pulse of what's going on there. And with that, Mr. Chair, we had also the county auction last Thursday. This was the first one we had during the week. Attendance wasn't as high as I'd seen at Saturdays, but it was okay. This was the first one with the Tauruses that were on the auction, and I believe they pretty much went for what we kind of thought they were going to go for. They didn't, kind of unknown, because you know that the old Crown Vics used to go pretty good for a while. All in all, I thought it was a successful auction, and I believe in the next couple of weeks we'll have the final analysis of what happened, what transpired coming before us. But all in all, it seems to work out fine at that location. I mean, and I didn't see, there was no problems as far as I could see out there, and all the staff, Jackie O'Dowd and the rest of them, were just on top of their game that day, and hats off to them for running a really good auction.
I still think we should do more online, like a lot of the other counties do, where we don't have to deal with it, and we have a wider audience that way. I think it would be better for the county taxpayers. It sure has worked out much better for the IT department. We get a lot more than we did at the auctions.
Right.
Well, a lot of times they'll have auctions where they'll be live and then online as well. So.
Yeah, combo.
Okay, that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Well, Mike and Derek and I attended the Quarterly Mayors Association meeting last Wednesday at Hayes Public House. It was Buffalo hosted, so it was a nice evening. One thing that Mayor Gronke shared from Delano is that they've been interviewed about their the hate crime that they unfortunately experienced, and there is in the Star Tribune, a little magazine that they are included in. So he said they were so happy by the support that they felt from other communities, and it's something that you don't expect ever to happen in your own community, but when it does, it's wonderful to have the support that they experience from the other communities. And
Chris, can I just interrupt on that? Because and I said it was so unfair to Delano for that, because that is not Delano.
No, it's not.
And then to have that happen, and then, it's like you get this label, and I said it is so un-Delano that
Yes.
they're not at all that way, and so I'm glad that.
I mean, it just takes one person to, give a bad name, and you're right. They did everything they could, and to mitigate the situation and to.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And then you can tell that. Oh, maybe our chair should take. Oh, I'm in charge of. Okay, well, our former Commissioner Pat Swatsky was named the 2017 Citizen of the Year, and he will serve as the Riverfest Parade Grand Marshal. So there was an article in the Monticello Times about that, which is, a good honor for a commissioner of 26 years, and I haven't.
Well deserved.
Yes.
Well deserved, definitely. And get your copies because they'll sell out soon. And Mr. Chair, just to add on to that with Pat, you go anywhere around Monticello, and he is into everything that goes on in Monticello, and he cares about everything that's around there. I mean, it's just a great article. Like, just people read it because they'll get a good idea of how into his community Pat is, and it's definitely an honor, and he's a well-deserved honor for him here.
And then Derek and I were at the Central Minnesota Mental Health Board meeting last night, and we were introduced to the new finance director, Alan Schwebe, and he just seems to be fitting in really well and implementing some good practices. And we had our audit presentation from Schwenner, Wenner and Company, and got a clean audit, so that was good. And we also voted to adopt a resolution. We passed a resolution to adopt new bylaws, and that when the attorneys review that, they'll be coming back to the county boards, and so we can discuss that. And one sort of a thing I would just add, there's an organization called Weaving Love Minnesota, and one of our board members has been involved with this, and they collect plastic bags and they tie them together and they into balls, and then people can crochet these plastic bags into mats, 3 feet by 6 foot mats for homeless people. And there's a lot of people that are doing this now. They're collecting the plastic bags right here at Central Minnesota Mental Health in Buffalo and in Monticello. So if you got any plastic bags, it can be any color. It takes like 600 bags to make a mat. But, anyway, but that's, people want to look it up. I think it's a great thing. She said they're lightweight for people that are homeless to transport them place to place, and she's very
600
comfortable.
less bags blown around the farmer's farm.
That's right. So, that's all.
And I'm, Mark?
In the interest of time, since we have a 10:30 meeting, I'll pass.
11 o'clock meeting.
And
No, we have
Christine
10:30,
covered
30.
all of mine because me and
Oh, yeah.
Christine were traveling around together in pairs. So.
That's right.
All right, and we do have we're going to have a committee of the whole meeting right following this, and then another one after that. We have 2 meetings. We stand adjourned at 10:57.